Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about switches. In our entire network, switches and routers are indispensable network devices, aren't they? Here we have a typical campus network, which is composed of different devices. For example, we have our access layer switch, aggregation layer switch, and core layer switch, as well as our firewall and router. Finally, to access our internet, in this process, a campus network usually adopts this multi-layer architecture, including our access layer. This means that in the future, we will connect some terminal devices, such as our computers, or for example, printers, servers, and cameras. We connect them to our network. This is the access layer. But what if there are too many devices at the access layer? In the future, if I connect them directly, problems may arise. Suppose I connect every two devices directly. Then if I go online and an issue occurs with the intermediate device, the devices below these two will not be able to access the internet. Therefore, when we usually set up a network, we choose to uplink to an aggregation layer switch, connecting all access switches to the aggregation. To prevent issues on our side, we also deploy multiple aggregation switches for connections. So, how do we do it? We use the access switches and the aggregation switches to ensure reliable transmission. Besides this, we refer to this as the aggregation layer. And at the aggregation layer, we need to uplink to the core layer devices. Because if in the future, each floor has an access point and the access connects to the aggregation, if I have multiple aggregations, I need to combine them together, which requires a core. All devices connect to the core, and to prevent issues, we have deployed two cores. In this setup, on our core switches, in the future, it might be possible. Additionally, some internal servers connect to our access points and then to the core, creating a network setup. When going out during this process, we need to implement some security policies through a firewall. To perform some security filtering to prevent external attacks. This is to prevent attacks from affecting internal access to external communications and to ensure our internal network security. Besides this, the final layer is the egress layer, which involves our egress devices. Typically, we use our routers to connect to the service provider's equipment for external access. Within our network, as we mentioned earlier, there are access, aggregation, and core layers. In our network, we often refer to devices such as layer 2 switches and layer 3 switches. In this context, layer 2 switches, for example, as shown in our diagram, are the network devices closest to the end devices within our entire campus network. They are used to connect these end devices to our campus network. Access layer switches are usually layer 2 switches, meaning they operate at the data link layer, which is the second layer of the TCP/IP model. This means that at the data link layer, they will forward data packets based on MAC addresses. Layer 2 switches refer to those that use Ethernet interfaces to forward data, and can only do so based on the second layer, that is to say, our data link layer uses the MAC address in the Ethernet header for addressing and forwarding. In future projects, we might also encounter layer 3 switches. What is a layer 3 switch? We might need to use routers to achieve network communication between different local area networks. But with the development and expansion of our network, more and more services are appearing in the network, and more traffic needs to be transmitted between networks. However, routers are relatively expensive, have low forwarding performance, and too few interfaces, making them unable to adapt to this development trend. Yet, we need new devices capable of high-speed forwarding, which is why layer 3 switches were introduced. They can perform both switching and routing tasks. If in the future you can configure interface IPs on the device and generate routing tables, then it is layer 3. If not, it is often just layer 2. It operates at the data link layer, forwarding based on the MAC address table. This is the difference between our layer 2 and layer 3 switches. If you want to learn Huawei certification technology or obtain Huawei certification exam questions, please send me a private message. I can also leave more comments below the video for technical exchanges.